We need to get information out as quickly as possible because we want everybody to thrive with autism. Welcome back to another Ask Dr. Tony discussion. This is what we're calling a deep dive, where we're going to take one topic and we're going to explore it for probably 10 or 15 minutes, but it allows you to get the information about a single topic so you don't have to wait through an entire show. The topic is gender dysphoria. What is gender dysphoria?
Gender dysphoria is an unhappiness with your birth gender, and this may cause very deep depression and seeking a solution. And sometimes that solution may be to become transgender and to change that gender, which may be achieved in a variety of ways that can include not only medication and hormones, but also surgery. In society a number of years ago, this was very much a taboo subject. Gender identity and gender preference and aspects of sexuality are now much more open than they have ever been. Recently, I talked to a clinical psychologist who's doing research in a gender dysphoria clinic, and those exist in most major cities, for adults. And she'd done a screening of the referrals to that gender identity clinic, and a quarter of the referrals had signs of an autism spectrum disorder. So the services for those with gender dysphoria are now realizing we need to know about ASD.
What does it feel like for somebody that would be experiencing gender dysphoria?
We use the phrase coming out, and often the person has come out to themselves in elementary, perhaps junior high school, where they've realized that they are different to their gender peers in a number of aspects. And it may be teens or adult years that they come out openly to other people, maybe family members. And this is a very risky situation because sometimes parents will accept that and say, I love you, whatever your gender. Others become horrified by that process because it is a huge shift in perception and thinking of the future and so on. And often that person will be questioned about the legitimacy of their decision. Why do you want to do that? Almost in an accusatory way. And that person is going through a very, very tough time. They need understanding and listening.
When they say they're not comfortable with their assignment of sexuality at birth, is it because they don't fulfill the roles that society is telling them they should fulfill as that gender? Or is it a sexual orientation? They're attracted to the sex that's the same as they are.
A very strong reason associated with not liking your gender is how you perceive gender roles. And in ASD, there can be a very black and white perception. So you may have a person who was born male with ASD and say, I'm not macho, I'm not interested in sport, I'm not interested in bullying and teasing, I'm compassionate, I'm kind. I identified more with the girls and their compassion, and therefore maybe I am more feminine. And the same goes with some of the girls who may say, well, I don't get the girls' bitchiness and meanness, and I'm not only kind and nice, I don't do bitchiness, but I also find the boys are simple and easy and they're making things and doing things, and so I really enjoy being with the boys. I am not a typical girl. Maybe being a boy would be an appealing option without realizing, and what I try and encourage is you can be male but still have some female characteristics. You can be female and have male characteristics. You don't have to be the ultra feminine or ultra macho. So in part it's understanding the variation that can occur in that situation. My own clinical experience is that it has rarely been in the sense of a homosexuality orientation It's more a question of gender rather than necessarily sexuality. There obviously are exceptions, but it's usually on a process of self and self-acceptance. So as a clinician in the early stages of this, I may work with the person saying, whatever your gender, let's explore who you are, and a satisfaction and enjoyment of who you are. Because if you are seeing changing gender as a solution to a number of problems, will it solve them or will they continue? So it's looking at that person's lifestyle and exploring it further. Mm-hmm. So we need to very carefully work with the person to find what I call psychological archaeology. Where did this come from? Often much younger. And how did it develop? And how do you see your future when you change gender? And for the people that I've seen, when that gender change has occurred, there are those who say very clearly, someone I saw only recently, who had always been he. And I always find it difficult when I'm talking to him to give the appropriate personal pronoun. Mm-hmm. She now is much more visibly relaxed and content in female form, but you can't guarantee it for all. So this is where it's something that is needing careful handling, support, but there can be, in ASD, a determination to go ahead with it. That's what I'm going to do, mm-hmm. as quickly as possible. And if you're not for me, you're against me. And I'm hoping that needs to be careful consideration, because the consequences are considerable and lifelong. Mm-hmm. And it's a decision that must be made with full evaluation of all the information.
Mm-hmm. How should parents respond to a child that's claiming to be a sex different than what they were assigned at birth?
Listen, where did this come from? Also to support the person, whatever gender they may be, because if they're going on a journey, they need a companion they can rely on, who's not going to be judgmental and is supportive. So it's very important that parents don't immediately have a negative reaction. Of course, there may be different reactions between a mum and a dad, mm-hmm. and this can cause a lot of friction within the family. Mm-hmm. So it's very important that they carefully consider the situation, mm-hmm. but also to seek professional help.
Mm-hmm. If a school-aged child is asking to dress as the opposite gender, how should parents react?
There needs to be, in ASD, an understanding of the context when that occurs and how people are going to react. The person has a right to wear whatever suits them. The school may have their own view of what is the school dress and uniform. And it's really negotiating with the school to honour that person's preference. What I found interestingly is that where 10, 20 years ago, the peer group would have torn to shreds someone who wants to dress in a different gender, now the level of support and encouragement is quite extraordinary. So coming out in that sense is now much more accepted by the peer group than it's ever been, and I think that has been a very positive change of acceptance.
How should parents talk with family members about their child's desire to be an opposite sex?
I think each family member has their own personality and probable reaction. Some may be supportive, some may see it as an opportunity to tease, to ridicule. And there's also the issue that once that information is out there, how are people going to react to it? Is it kept as confidential or not? I think it's up to the parents and the person concerned. Who else needs to know? And if it's within the family, then the chances are that it may be recognized. Sometimes it's occurred that parents and siblings will know because the person may have stolen clothing of the gender that the person wants to change to wear clandestinely. So there may have been underwear and things that has gone missing, and this now explains various components. And there may be the recognition that the person doesn't fit the stereotype and it may not be totally new news. Or if it is, it's really how are they going to react? And remember that this is a very delicate and sensitive decision for the person to do this. They don't do it for fun. They do it because there's something deep within them that they need to address.
So, what final advice would you offer somebody that comes to your clinic and has a gender dysphoria issue?
If they came to my clinic, my comment would be, I'll support you whatever gender you are. For me, your gender doesn't really matter. It's a personal decision for you, but it won't change how I help you.